Alright guys, this is going to be the 3.2 homework. Starting with 1, what we're going to do is we're going to find the sum. We can see that we're adding these two polynomials. So what we're going to do is, because addition is commutative, we're basically just going to add like terms. So I see this 3x squared and I see negative 2x squared right there. I'm going to add those together, so that's going to give me positive x squared. Okay, I like to cross them out as I go too, so I know that I've covered them. And then I have a positive 4x and a negative 3x. That's going to make it negative x. And then I have a negative 1 and a positive 2. That's going to give me plus 1. And there we go. We have the sum of these two polynomials. Let's try 2 right here. So I see an x to the 5th. There is no x to the 5th anywhere else. So that means I'm just going to have 12x to the 5th as the first term here. And then I have a 4th degree and a 4th degree term, negative 3 and a positive 8. That's going to give me a total of 5x to the 4th. Okay, and then I'm going to look right here. That's a 3rd degree term. That's the next highest term. And so that's going to be minus 3x cubed, since it won't combine with anything else. And then there's no x squared terms, but there is two x terms, and that's going to be plus 6x. And then we're going to have negative 5, positive 1 for negative 4. Okay. For 3 and 4, this is going to be the difference, and that means subtraction. So the important thing here is that the negative has to be distributed first before I can combine like terms. So this will be negative 7x to the 5th. This will be positive 8x to the 4th, and then minus 2x and plus 11. Now I'm going to combine some terms. So the highest degree term here is this term right here, and there's no other term here with a degree 6. So 5x to the 6 doesn't combine with anything. And then is there a degree 5? So first checking to see if there's a degree 5, and there is, but that's over in this term right here. So it's going to be negative, so minus 7x to the 5th. It's not going to combine with anything else. I'm also going to scratch that out. Okay, and then we have x to the 4th right here and right here. That's going to be plus 6x to the 4th, right? Yep, 6x to the 4th. Okay, and then we have, this is the only x cubed term, so plus 9x cubed. And then we have plus 2x and minus 2x. That's just going to cancel and be 0. And then I have negative 4 plus 11. That's going to be positive 7. Okay. Same with this one right here. I'm going to distribute the negative. That's going to be negative 9x to the 5th plus x to the 3rd plus 13x squared minus 4. Okay, and now combining like terms, the highest degree is 5. I'm going to combine those. That's just going to be negative x to the 5th. Those are gone. And then I have x to the 4th. I don't see any x to the 4th terms. So then I have x to the 3rd, and that's going to become plus 7x to the 3rd. Those are gone. And then we have a minus 2x squared, and so that's going to be plus 11x squared. And then plus 10x, but that's not going to combine with anything else, and neither is that negative 4, so those are going to stay. Okay, for 5 through 8, we're going to find the product. So in 5, this is just going to have to distribute to all those terms. So that's going to become 7 times 5, that's going to be 35, x to the 5th. So whenever I multiply x to the 3rd and I can multiply 7 and 5 together, that's 35. Then x to the 3rd times by x squared, that's going to give you x to the 5th, because I can add the exponents whenever I multiply those right there. And then we're going to have plus 21 x to the 4th. And then 1 times by 7x to the 3rd is just going to be plus 7x to the 3rd. All right, for 6, we have a trinomial and a binomial. we're going to have to do some FOILing. Okay, so this term right here has to multiply with those two terms. So that's going to give me negative 10x to the third, and then plus 15x squared when I multiply those two together, right? Okay, and then I'm just going to keep going down. This one is also going to multiply with those terms right there. So negative 4 times by negative 2 is going to be positive 8, and x times by x is going to be x squared. And I'm going to stack these. So I'm going to stack them where I already have an x squared term. So when I multiply that here, I'm going to get an x squared term, and since I already have an x squared term, I'm going to stack them so that I can combine like terms a little bit easier. And then negative 4x times by 3, that's going to give me negative 12x, and that I'm going to put on its own because there's no like terms with other x's in there yet anyways. Okay, and then negative 6 is going to be multiplied here. Positive 6, so 6 times by negative 2x is going to be negative 12x. So I'm going to stack that with this one right here. And then 6 times by 3 is going to be positive 18, and that doesn't stack with anything. And then I kind of do this right here where I kind of line things up, and then I add everything together. So this isn't going to add with anything, so it's going to be negative 10x to the third plus 23x squared minus 24x, and then plus 18. And there we go. For 7, okay, we have a trinomial and a trinomial. We're going to do the same process. We're going to just take the first term and multiply it through. Excuse me. So x squared times by x squared is going to give me x to the fourth. X squared times by negative 3x is going to be negative 3x to the third, and x squared times negative 5 is negative 5x squared. Then I'm going to do negative 2 and multiply by all three terms here. So negative 2x times x squared is negative 2x cubed. Negative 2x times negative 3x is going to be positive 6x squared. Negative 2x times by negative 5 is going to be plus 10x. Okay, and then moving on, negative 4 times by these terms right here. Negative 4x times by x squared is just going to be negative 4x squared. And notice again, I'm just stacking where there are like terms. Negative 4 times by negative 3x is negative 12x, right? Nope, positive 12x. And then negative 4 times negative 5 is going to be plus 20. Okay, and now I'm going to add. This is just going to be x to the fourth. And then that's going to be negative 5x to the third. And then here I have three terms I'm going to have to add. This is going to be 1x squared minus 4. So that's going to be negative 3x squared plus 22x and plus 20. And there you go. For 8. I'm going to take the first term, multiply it by all three terms in the other polynomial. So that's going to be equal to 3x to the power of 5. Okay, and then that's going to be minus 6. So 3 times by negative 2 is negative 6. X to the third times by x, that's going to be x to the fourth. And then plus 3x to the third when I multiply that by 1. Then negative 9x, distribute that through, so negative 9x times by x squared, yeah, it's going to be negative 9x to the third, so negative 9x to the third, and then negative 9x times by negative 2, that's going to be plus 18x squared, then minus 9x. And then multiply this through to all the terms, that's going to be 7 and x squared, so that's going to be plus 7x squared, and then that's going to be minus 14x, and then plus 7. So 3x to the 5th doesn't combine with anything. Neither does negative 6x to the 4th. That's gonna combine to be negative 6x to the 3rd, and then that's gonna combine to be 25x squared, then negative 23x, and then positive 7. And there you go. For 9, still dealing with products of binomials. Okay, so we have 3 binomials. So I'm going to start by just taking 2 and then go from there. So let's start with these first 2. I'm just going to FOIL. So x times by x is going to give me x squared. X times by 2 is going to give me positive 2x. Negative 3 times by x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times by 2 is negative 6. And I'm going to simplify that. That's just going to, because I can combine these terms right here. So x squared minus x, right? And then minus 6. So there's that when I multiply it together. But I still need to multiply this one. So I'm going to throw this over here. Times by x plus 4. And then I'm going to FOIL. So I'm going to get x to the 3rd, because x squared times x. And then I'm going to get plus 4x squared. Okay. Then I'm going to move to the middle term. So negative x times x is going to give me negative x squared. I'm going to stack these. Negative x squared. Negative x times by positive 4 is going to be minus 4x. Okay. And then here I'm going to FOIL. So that's going to be negative 6x. Again, I'm just going to stack that. Then minus 24. And x cubed doesn't combine with anything. That's going to be plus 3x squared minus 10x. And then minus 24. And there you go. Let's try 10. So for 10, we're going to do the same process. I'm going to start with just 2 right here. So that's going to be equal to 3x squared plus x. Okay, and then moving on, that's going to be minus 6x, and then that's going to be minus 2. So you combine those, that's going to be 3x squared minus 5x, right? Did I do that right? Yeah, I think I did that right. Minus 5x and then minus 2. So that's going to be 3x squared plus x minus 6x, so minus 5x and then minus 2. Okay, and then I'm going to take this right here. So I still need to multiply it with this one right here. So 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. And I'm going to multiply that by 4x minus 3. Okay, so I'm going to FOIL. Whoops. Okay, so we're going to do 3x squared times by 4x. That's going to be 12x to the 3rd. And then 3x squared, that's going to be minus 9x squared. Okay, now I'm going to have negative 5 times by 4. That's going to be minus, minus 20x squared, right? And then negative 5, that's going to be plus 15x, right? And then, there you go. And then distribute the negative 2. That's going to become negative 8x plus 6. I get 12x to the 3rd. That's going to be minus minus 29x squared, and then that's going to be minus 23x plus 6. Alright, for 11, so here we're going to also be multiplying, and you can multiply the long way, but if you remember the special patterns here, then you can use those. And so here, the special pattern that I can use is if I have a plus b times by a minus b, when I multiply those together, that's a squared minus b squared. And so in this case right here, when I multiply these together, simply it's going to be x squared minus 81, because x, if I multiply x by x, that's going to give me x squared. Negative 9 times by 9 is going to be negative 81. Now you might be asking, what's happening to the middle? So if I FOIL, I have to multiply those together. Yeah, but whenever you have this binomial with just different signs in the middle, if I multiply these together, that's positive 9x, but when I multiply these together, that's negative 9x, and so those, whenever I combine like terms, are going to cancel, which is why I just have x squared minus 81. So there's no term in between. If you want to see, so again, if I multiply these together the long way, I get x squared plus 9x minus 9x minus 81. But these are going to cancel and make 0, leaving me with x squared minus 81. So there you go. That's why I can use that shortcut. Is there any other so I can use the same pattern in 14. So in 14, I can take these right here, which are the same ones. If I multiply those together, that's going to be 4y squared. And then if I multiply these ones together, that's going to be negative 25. And there you go. I don't have to worry about the outer and inner terms being multiplied because they're just going to cancel. Okay, and then for the next one right here, this was m plus 6 squared. That's the same thing as m plus 6 times by m plus 6. And this has a pattern that if I multiply it out, it's we'll say this right here. It's a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So what I mean by that is so let me do the shortcut first. So this right here, when I multiply this out right here, we're going to get m squared. And then we're going to get plus 2 times by 6m plus 36. And then that's going to be equal to m squared plus 12m plus 36. So basically what we're saying here is that we're going to get double the middle term because these are the same, right? So if I do the long way around, if I multiply those, so m times m is going to be m squared, m times by 6 is going to be plus 6m, and then m times by 6 again is going to be 6m plus 36. So this is what I get if I FOIL. Now, this right here just means double 6m, and that's what this means right here. I can get double my middle term, which is just going to be 12m. Okay, so can I use that pattern anywhere else here on 15? So let's look at 15. So if I square this right here, 7, because this is the same thing as 7h plus 4 times by 7h plus 4, 7h times 7h is going to be equal to 49h squared. And then we're going to get plus 2 times by 7h times by 4, and then plus 4 squared, which is 16. So this becomes 49h squared plus 2 times 7 times by 4. 4 times by 2 is going to be 8, and 8 times by 7 is going to be 56. So that's 56h, and then plus 16, and there you go. And then if you have a subtraction one, then it's going to be the same pattern here. It's just that this is going to be subtraction, just right there. That's the only difference that's going to make. So this is the same thing as 3c minus 5 times by 3c minus 5. Okay, and so we're going to follow the same pattern here. We're going to have a squared, but in this case, it's going to be minus 2ab plus b squared. So this means the first one being squared, so 3c squared is going to be 9c squared. And then minus 2 times by 3c times by 5. And then we're going to do plus 5 squared, which is going to be 25. And then when I simplify that, that's 9c squared minus, I'm going to multiply these numbers together. So that's going to be 30. And then plus 25. There you go. And then for 16, just using the shortcut, 9g squared is going to be 81g squared. So when I multiply that by itself, so 9g times 9g, and then we're going to have minus 2 times by 9g times by 4, and then plus 4 squared, which is going to be 16, and that's going to be equal to 81g squared. We have 4 times by 2, which is 8, and 8 times by 9, which is going to be 72, so minus 72g plus 16. And there you go. Okay, last but not least, we have Pascal's triangle. So Pascal's triangle, I'm going to try and do as much as by memory. I think of Pascal's triangle. I just remember that on the test, I will give you Pascal's triangle. You can also use it with your notes. Okay. So we have 2x minus 3 to the 4th. So I'm going to think about Pascal's triangle. This is good. I get to prove to you guys that if you remember the patterns, the patterns can help you remember everything. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. So this would be degree 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So this is what I want. So these are the coefficients of my polynomial. So I know, and then this right here. So I'm going to say A is equal to 2x and B is equal to negative 3. So my first term, is going to be 1. And then it's a 4th degree, and we're only going to have 2x. So 1 times by 2x to the 4th. Then we're going to do plus 4, because that's my next coefficient. And now we're going to have 2x, but this is now going to be to the 3rd. And then we're going to have negative 3 to the 1st power. The next term is going to be plus 6. And then we're going to have 2x squared, and then negative 3 is going to be squared. Then we're going to have a coefficient of 4. You can see that there. And then we're going to have 2x. It's going to be to the 1st power, and negative 3 is going to be to the 3rd power. And then we're going to have 1, so plus 1, and then it's going to be negative 3 to the 4th power. So the patterns tell me everything. So the pattern of the coefficients starts with 1, the ends are always 1, and then you can, so this is going to be 1, the next coefficient here is going to be the sum of the terms above, of the coefficients above it. And then, so like right here, this is 3 because that's 2, and that's also going to be 3 because 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1, and then this one's going to be 4, this is going to be 6, this is going to be 4, so on and so forth. So that tells me the coefficients as far as where the exponents go. So this one's going to start with 4 on the left, this one's going to start with 4 on the right, and then they're basically just going to reverse powers as you go left or as you go right. So this is 2x to the 4th, then to the 3rd, then squared, then 1, then nothing at all. But then but then this one doesn't have a negative 3 being multiplied. Then it's got 1, then it's got 2, then 3, and then 4. And now I just have to simplify. If you have a calculator, that would be helpful, because I'm going to, the thing that students always forget here is to multiply, is to square the 2, bring the power to both of those right there. So 2 to the 4th is going to be 16, and then that's going to become 16x to the 4th. Here, what I'm going to do, this is going to be negative 3 times by 4. If you want, I can kind of like show off to the side. So it's going to be 4 times by 2 cubed times by negative 3. That's all the coefficients here, and we have to do 2 cubed because that's what it is there. So 4, 2 cubed times by negative 3. And so when I multiply those together in calculator, that's 4 times by 2 to the 3rd times by negative 3. And I get negative 96x to the 3rd. Okay, going on to the next term right here. So again, I like to start with my coefficients. So I've got 6 times by 2 squared times by negative 3 squared. So 6 times by 4 times by 9, and that's going to be 216. So plus 216 x to the second. And then moving on to the next term, we have 4 times 2 times by negative 3 cubed. So that's going to be 4 times 2 times negative 3 to the third. That's going to be negative 216. So negative 216, and then we're going to have x to just x. So you can see here that x is only to the power 1. And then negative 3 to the fourth is going to be positive 81. So plus 81, and there we go. We have our expanded binomial right here. Okay, and then this one right here is the degree 5. So let me add to this triangle. That's going to be 1, 5. That's going to become 10, 10, 5, 1. So now this is of degree 5, and these are going to be the coefficients I'm going to want to use. So I'm going to start right here. We're going to have a coefficient of 1. We're going to say the first term is g, and then the second term is 2. So 1g to the 5th, because we're starting with degree 5. The next one is going to be plus, here's the coefficient, it's going to be 5. Now g is going to be to the 4th power, and 2 is going to be introduced, 2 to the 1st power. Then plus 10, then we're going to have g to the 3rd, and then we're going to have 2, but now it's going to be squared. Then plus 10, and then we're going to have g squared, and then we're going to have 2 to the 3rd, and then plus 5. G is going to be to the 1st power, 2 is going to be to the 4th power, and then plus 1. We're not going to have a g this time. We're just going to have 2 to the 5th power. Okay, and then we're going to go term by term to simplify. G to the 5th is still going to be g to the 5th. Then we're going to have 5 times by 2. That's going to give me plus 10 g to the 4th. Then I have 10 times by 2 squared. That's going to be 10 times by 4, so that's going to give me plus 40 g to the 3rd. Then we're going to have 10 times by 2 to the 3rd. 2 to the 3rd is 8, so that's going to be plus 80 g squared. Then we're going to have 5 times by 2 to the 4th. So 5 times by 2 to the 4th is also going to be 80. So plus 80g plus 2 to the 5th, and that's going to be plus 32. And there's your expanded binomial. Okay, and that should be everything for the 3.2.